for Sugar Marketing. He's going to present part 1 today, which is leveraging SugarCRM. And this sort of looks like the questions that you have if you ask a question, and then you can actually hit to send. It will send a question to us, and I will interrupt Kevin as appropriate to go ahead and ask those questions. We will have a Q&A at the end, so don't worry if you don't have something in the middle. We'll definitely have some time at the end to ask questions. We are also going to ask some poll questions, and we are going to do this to let Kevin personalize the webinar more, to understand who you are so we can't ask you face-to-face and get a better path. So we are going to start out the webinar with 3 quick questions, and then we will go ahead and delve into Kevin's presentation. So the first poll, which of course is about inbound marketing, which we're going to ask, which is, how did you hear about this webinar? So if you guys could take a couple minutes and vote. So we're just trying to find out, did you hear from Sugar? Did you hear from us? Did you find us on LinkedIn? Something else? So I'll give it a couple of minutes, and then we actually are going to show you the results of the polls. It's just an interesting thing to see where everybody else came from to get here. So we'll show you all the polls that we asked so that you can understand why Kevin's going down a certain path, or saying certain things. I'll give it a couple more seconds to get everyone to vote in. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close that, and then I will share this poll with all of you. So here's how you guys answered. Some LinkedIn, some of the Sugar webcasts, some from TAI, and some through other means. So my second poll that we're going to ask for Kevin and us is, are you currently using SugarCRM? Are you currently using it? Are you in the process of just getting it started? Or are you just evaluating Sugar to see if it's something that you want to use for your organization? So we've got, actually we've got a lot of people. It sounds like you are evaluating SugarCRM, so this will be a good series for you. The nice thing about the folks that are evaluating SugarCRM is that some of what Kevin talked about is just good practice regardless of what you're using. All right, so we've got about 80% of the folks have voted. Come play with us, guys. Come play with us. Vote, vote, vote. Great. So I'm going to close that poll. So 30% of you are actually using Sugar now, and I'm sorry, 30% are evaluating, and about 60+% are currently using it. And then our last question, just to make sure we're on the right path again, is what is the most important thing that you learned today? Is it how to actually physically use SugarCRM to capture leads, or are you looking how to increase your inbound marketing? So it's pretty close right now, at about 50-50, which is most important. You can learn both, but what's most important? Great. So I've got a 40 split, Kevin. Excellent. So although I will tell you, people initially said have learned Sugar, and then they changed their answers. So, you know, it's really truly both, but here's how the result ended up, is 60%. All right, so Kevin, I'm going to turn this over to you. Hello, hello. All right, Kevin, here you go. And you're off. Can we hide that poll? You are on. It's all you.
Excellent.
Yep.
Great. So first off, thanks.
Share your screen, Kevin.
Oh, I thought I did here.
There we go. Perfect.
Excellent. Thanks, Michelle. For starters, I just want to thank everybody for taking their time today to come out and join us. We've got a couple sessions here that we're going to go through over the course of the next couple weeks, and hopefully, you know, knowing that the 60% want to hear a little more on the inbound marketing side, that kind of helps me a little bit with some of the material we're going to focus on today. But basically, to get started, there we go. Okay, so we've got 3 sessions. Today we're going to talk a little bit about just the broad brush of lead gen and inbound marketing as it relates to SugarCRM. In a few weeks we're going to discuss what we call the secret weapon around marketing campaigns. And because that in itself is a pretty advanced, a lot of moving parts in it, so we're going to spend an hour on that. And then on the 17th, my partner Brian Jameson is going to talk to us about workflow. And that, again, is a detailed process that requires a lot of moving parts, so we're pretty excited about this. So if you get what you see here today, hopefully you'll come and join us again for the next two. A little bit about me. I'm basically the CEO and co-founder of EchoGravity, and if you haven't heard of us, we're basically an inbound marketing and public PR firm that focuses on a couple of segments in the SMB space, but we've got clients that pretty much scatter throughout a number of industries, and primarily in the B2B side of things versus B2C. As far as what we want to achieve on this webinar, there's three things. Really, we want to communicate how content and social media can be part of that foundation for inbound marketing, utilizing SugarCRM. We also want to talk a little bit about the whole web-to-lead form capture, which gets your prospects and leads coming to your website and giving you their information. And then understanding, why SugarCRM really is the foundation for automating and your marketing and sales conversions. And we've got a number of clients that we use SugarCRM with, so we're very in tune as to how to optimize the use of the product for this particular activity. And then obviously, final objective is to get you coming back for more. Okay, so there's when you think about inbound marketing, there's a lot of, it's a term that's being used quite a bit these days, and there's a lot of different definitions of it. But according to Wikipedia, Brian Halligan, the CEO and founder of HubSpot, who has claimed this term, is basically, it's pretty straightforward: attracting prospective customers using educational and useful information. And that can mean a lot of different things, but at the base level, it's attracting your prospect base using content. And here's where we're going to kind of implement our first poll question. So, Michelle, I'll let you jump in. You there? There you go.
Yeah. So the question is, which inbound marketing tactics are you using? So multiple choice. We're just trying to, again, give Kevin some path of where he can start talking about. Lots of website forms. Looks like a good percentage of social media. That's great. We've got some others. We have no ebooks, which is kind of interesting, Kevin. So we'll go ahead and present this. I'll go ahead and close this in 2 more seconds. All right, so here's what you guys said. You said that most of you are using website capture forms. A lot of you are using social media. A small percentage of white papers and no ebooks, and then some others. So great. So Kevin, let me hand that back to you.
Perfect. So, inbound marketing, we feel it's a special time right now, and there's a number of reasons for this. First off, everybody's using social media for a lot of different things, but the distribution vehicles available now to get your content out into your marketplace is growing. And it seems like it's every day a new product comes out to be able to sneeze your content across the internet. So, Twitter feed and social sharing are just 2 of those options, but those continue to grow. Interruption marketing is lessening. Email marketing still has a play, and we believe that there's still some real value in the email side of things, but in terms of the interruption side, it's becoming less of an opportunity. The available content, if you're out there, getting RSS feeds or Google alerts on content, you're probably seeing the results come back much larger than what they were a year ago, and the content out there is growing at an exponential rate. Nice thing about inbound marketing is you can connect with your buyers 24/7. Your sales team works from 8 to 5, but your content works around the clock. And Google is continuing to pay more attention to sites and pages that are highly relevant based on freshness and authority of content. And that's going to be a much bigger play going forward here. And we've seen it with our clients where rankings come and go and change based on relevancy and freshness of content. So it's a very interesting time to be in this business. I wanted to talk about some of the challenges we face with CRM. And we see this pretty much all the time with a number of clients. And it can go in conjunction with Sugar, with Salesforce, or any of the other tools available. But basically, we find that a lot of the data that our clients have is fragmented and old. And the tools are starting to do some things that can help fix this through Jigsaw and Inside View and other data sources. But that's typically because salespeople come and go. People don't put in all the information that's required. And on top of that, executive management isn't really enforcing data integrity. Executive management wants opportunity, where do things stand with opportunity, what's the sales funnel look like. So there's really not, any enforcement there. In addition, the contact management system, such as Sugar or any of these other tools, are primarily being used for data inquiries and contact management versus, some of the other aspects of the system which a lot of the companies just don't really, know of. And so there's a lot of opportunities that we see, especially with Sugar, on the marketing side that we can leverage. So what's the opportunity with Sugar? Basically, there's a prospect data store that is out there that we can really take advantage of. Lead collection, which we're going to talk about here in a few slides. Automated lead routing, nurture marketing. These are things that we see a lot of companies really aren't using to the full potential, and that's what we're going to try to discuss here a little bit today. And then specifically analytics and campaign testing, which is, we're going to talk a little bit about that in the second webinar. So knowing that a number of you are in the process of evaluating Sugar, actually, wait, I'm going to back up here because I forgot a poll question, I believe. Let's go back. We actually had another poll question. Michelle, you want to grab that? I think I almost forgot.
Sure. So the question is are you automating your lead workflow yet? So
and
again,
question,
some of you, go ahead, Kevin.
No, and the reason we want to, a number of the aspects around the Sugar lead generation and inbound marketing tools is for the sake of automating some of this lead capture. So that's really the intent of the question here.
Okay, so I just need a couple more folks to vote. Mostly we got no's, Kevin, so far. By the way, one of the things I heard, Kevin, as we're waiting for folks to vote on the content is since there's so much content, what people are really looking for is the insight. Like, don't give me the vanilla, but give me the why it matters kind of scenario.
Right.
So let me close that and share that poll with you. So a few are using it in Sugar, but the majority of you are looking to learn in the future. So let me close that and keep moving, Kevin.
Perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do is get into some of the little specific nitty-gritties of Sugar, and if you're in the process of evaluating, you're going to kind of have to hang with me here because some of this may not look familiar, but for those of you that do use Sugar, you're going to, some of the stuff's going to look pretty familiar. As I talked about before, a lot of companies really only pay attention to, a few of the modules: accounts, contacts, and opportunities. You track your funnel, you track what companies you're going after in your target market, and you track which contacts are associated with those opportunities and accounts. But the real key and the opportunity that we want to kind of uncover here is in the leads and the campaign modules. So, there's 5 things that we've identified in terms of creating this hub and utilizing those particular modules. First off, the integration of the web-to-lead forms, which we're going to walk through. The SugarCRM drop-down field piece, and again, if you're a power Sugar user or you've used it for some time, these are pretty basic elements. Campaign management, which we're going to talk about just very quickly, but we'll talk about it in detail in the next webinar. Segmenting data and nurture marketing. This could probably be its own webinar, and we're just going to touch on it a little bit, but it kind of solidifies the foundation of using SugarCRM as this inbound hub. And then the workflow, and again, that's a future date, but we're going to touch on it a little bit here. So, in terms of, since we can't really collaborate on what's an ideal state, I'm going to give you what we see as the ideal state in terms of this whole process. And basically, I'm going to plug a book here. If you haven't had the chance and you're interested in inbound marketing and content marketing, I highly recommend it. And that's really, from our standpoint, this is where everything starts. Everything starts with pieces of content as it relates to inbound marketing. People can come to your website, people can drop by and they can find you in search, but the thing that's really going to drive your inbound strategy is by using content. And this book is a great form of that. So basically, it all starts with content. And from there, you're going to socialize that content, whether it's through an email marketing campaign, whether it's through your blog, an ebook, white papers, or getting found by search. Hopefully, if you're doing the right thing, you're hitting your target market right between the eyes. And if you're hitting them between the eyes with the content that resonates and is relevant to them, you're going to end up getting them to your website, and they're going to fill out a form, and you're going to have a new lead that's sitting in sugar for you. And then from there, I'm going to move this little panel here. You're going to hopefully get leads generated that reach to the funnel and ultimately end up creating revenue. My screen froze. There we go. So what we're going to do in these next couple slides is really focus on this particular piece of the process. And you know, in the poll, the beginning poll, a lot of you had an interest in the inbound side of it. So hopefully I'm going to try to cater some of this discussion a little more to that particular part of the process. So on the use of the web to lead forms, the opportunity actually is pretty large. If you have a website that's got opportunity throughout the site for your visitors to engage, you know, you're going to want to sprinkle that stuff on multiple pages and landing pages, and it could be in the form of a download form, a contact us form, calls to action, and buttons. And these are examples off of our website that are tied in directly to SugarCRM. So I'm going to talk very briefly. Again, if some of you have used these web to lead forms, some of you have not, so this might be reiterating some material. But if you're evaluating Sugar, this is, you know, an important aspect of getting this marketing automation in place. Because a lot of people look at Sugar as, I need a database, I need a CRM to manage opportunities and contacts, and we see it as a much more than that. So in the campaign menu drop down, there's a create a lead form. You're going to click on that. Once you click on that, you're going to get this little box here that asks you which fields you would like inside the form that you're going to be putting on your website. And in this scenario, we've selected first name, last name, and title. From there, you're going to have to describe some specifics around the form, and more specifically, where you're going to redirect people once they hit the submit or download button, and then specifically what campaign is related to this, because each campaign that's developed has its own unique identifier. So when that information is passed from the website form back into Sugar, that identifier tags it accurately so that you have that information when you're following up with the lead. And then based on that, they create this nice looking blue form for you here. Obviously, this isn't what you're going to want to put on your website unless your website's blue and in this color and it fits in nicely. So this is kind of where having someone with some HTML or PHP experience might come into a little bit of help here. But you've got this little HTML viewer up at the top left, and if you click on that, you're going to get this little source code editor. And again, I'm probably getting to the point of limitations for most people, but it's a great opportunity to take this code, drop it into WordPress. We use WordPress for a lot of the sites that we manage, or any other particular CMS that you're using. Drop it into the page. You can modify some of the code so that you can pass certain parameters back without people having to fill it out, and it's actually a real nice opportunity to make the integration seamless. And so if you've done it right and everything's working the way you want it to work, what happens is you go back into Sugar, and if someone's filled out the lead form, workflow is obviously the best way to handle this, and I'll go through that in a little bit here. But you're going to go to your lead tab. You're going to select, there'll be a number of leads, and you can select the lead, and you can get information on that particular lead. And in this case, there's ways to customize what information is passed through from the website form into, and again, utilizing that content piece that's going to drive traffic to the site. In this case, we've customized a few of these particular fields with drop-downs, and for the what do you need on the top right there that's circled, that we've captured that this person wants to generate more leads. And in addition to the lead source, the lead description, they filled out a contact form, and then the campaign is a click-through link that we can look at all the metrics relating to that campaign. So as you can see, if you've done the right thing to get the people to the site and they fill out a form, you can grab all this information within Sugar. The drop-down fields, again, this is if you're not a power user or if you're not an admin, this is going to be kind of French to you here. So you go into the admin panel, you hit the developer tools and the drop-down editor, and within that drop-down editor, you can select which particular drop-down you're referring to. And in this case, it's a contact form needs. And if you look at on the left-hand side, we've customized this drop-down to match on the right-hand side what we see on the website. And that's nice because that information's passed through, it's connected to the lead. We can measure how many people have been to our site, have filled out this form, and how many people have selected a specific drop-down feature. And you can get all those metrics right through Sugar. So if it all works right, you've got this form on your website because you've done a nice job on your content marketing for your inbound strategy. They come, they fill it out, and you got a new lead captured in Sugar. Campaign management, again, I'm flying through this and I realize that this is, if you haven't done some of this stuff, it's, it's drinking through a fire hose. So I'm going to have my contact information at the end. Feel free to, reach out to me afterwards if you have any specific questions about some of this. On the front end of it, you're going to need to create a campaign, and the campaign needs to be done in such a way that it gives you that ID to be able to create the form. If you don't have the campaign, you can't create the lead form. But in this case, for example, we've got a number of campaigns out there, and they could be web-based, they could be email marketing, so there's a number of different ways to do that. But in the end, the nice thing about it is if you're marketing out to an opt-in list or you've got prospects in the database that you're marketing to, if they click through and they create a lead for themselves or they do anything that is relating to your website, that information is captured in the contact record under the campaign piece that's down. It's usually towards the bottom. You can move it around. But the nice thing about this in terms of your inbound strategy is that if you're hitting people up with multiple types of content and they're continuing to download stuff, you can look at what they've had an interest in and then push additional content back to them that is in relation to what they have, and or you can see that, hey, these people are really engaged, so it's time to give them a call, and you can pass that over to your sales team, for follow-up. So it's a nice tracking mechanism, and Sugar does a nice job of keeping all this information in one place. And again, we're going to talk about this in detail on the second one. So we're going to have another little poll question here after this, but another real opportunity here is on the nurture marketing side. And there's really a number of ways to do this, and this is probably, again, another webinar at a future date, but I did want to touch on it because it makes a big difference in terms of your inbound strategy. What I'm showing you here is a lead, and we've kind of marked it as dead because it's a test lead. But we've seen that this particular person has downloaded the 10 Hidden Sales Metrics ebook, and it was a lead source from the website. So what we can do is, if we want to continue hitting these people up that have downloaded a particular item or have contacted us for a specific purpose, what we can do is we can check the campaign status of this particular campaign. And from that, we can create a separate target list that is unique in and among itself. So in this scenario, what we would do is we'd create a target list of all the leads that we've created based on 10 Hidden Sales Metrics download. And from there, what we do is we could set up using, I'm going to pitch another tool here called Inbox 25. We can use a nurture marketing process that allows us to hit that particular segment, that particular buyer persona, with additional material over the course of, you name it, based on a particular action that these leads have done, based on a time stamp. There's a number of different things. So you can say, based on this particular campaign or this particular activity, this target market needs to get this piece of content, this particular market needs to get this email, and it's a nice process that you can set conditions and actions based on what's happening with it inside Sugar. And Inbox has done a really nice job of that integration. So I guess we've got another poll question here.
So the question is, for everybody on the phone, are you doing nurture marketing? Which means, are you dripping on folks? Are you contacting somebody this week and in a couple weeks and another couple weeks? Do you have marketing? Are you doing nurture marketing currently? So we got about 74%, mostly no's. All right, I'll give it 2 more seconds, and then we'll go ahead and close it. Great, so we do have a couple folks doing that, and here are the results. 20% are doing it, and 80% are not. Thank you for voting. Let me turn it back to you, Kevin.
Great, and that was the expectation. I think it's nurture marketing is it's a very it's a process that requires a lot of detail, and it's very time consuming. But once you get it set up and moving and all the moving parts going, and it can be a nice avenue for additional leads. Okay, so the next piece of this is the workflow side of it. Again, this is just I'm just gonna kind of broad brush it because again, we're gonna talk about this in the third webinar. But if you're setting this up, and this is just one example, so it all goes back to this form that you have on your website, whether it's a download or contact us. And in this scenario, it's a download form for a piece of content. Again, I'm going to stress that content for the inbound marketing interest. And someone fills this out and they hit the download button, and what happens is we've set up a workflow that, in this scenario, someone has downloaded the 10 Hidden Sales Metrics ebook named Bo Jackson, and here's all the information. And this is a customized workflow, and we've passed the lead link through the email that tells the people, hey, whoever it is that you forwarded this to, whether it's a sales rep, there's a new lead and you need to follow up with that. And if you click that link, you're going to get right to that lead record that gives you all the information that you need to know in terms of what they've downloaded, what they do, and what they did with your website and when they got there, and all the other pertinent information that you've used to pass along through the lead. So this is something that is kind of an integral part of the inbound marketing strategy using SugarCRM as well. So in recapping a little bit, I wanted to cover a few steps that kind of at a high level covers kind of what we talked about at a more strategic level as far as using SugarCRM. So in terms of step one, really it's preparing Sugar to receive your activity. Even though you may have a number of pieces of content out there, you really have to start almost from the backwards and move yourself forwards. And getting Sugar ready for the activity is really important. So getting those campaigns set up, as well as getting the landing pages and your hooks back from Sugar into your forms on the website so that it can populate Sugar is really, kind of a step two. And then a step three really is create the workflow. And again, a lot of people may not do the workflow, but there's a nice opportunity there to get timely feedback to leads or people interested in talking to you about your brand. And then four really is what we've talked about on the socializing, the content side of things. Plant those seeds, and in this scenario, you can start with one piece of content. You can go into an email marketing campaign with it. You can plaster it around your website and sprinkle it in places for call-outs. You can send it off to your client list. You can utilize social media. You can syndicate your content. And I'm really interested, and we got another quick poll question here, in terms of who's doing this type of strategy. So Michelle's going to grab your attention again here.
So the question is, do you have a content distribution process in place? Meaning, do you go to place 1, place 2, place 3? Do you have it all, in essence, written down, and are you following the plan, or is it haphazard? And my guess, Kevin, is just, being in the field, for the most part, it's haphazard, which is actually what it's coming to be out. So let me close that and share that. So we've got 17% yes, they have a process, and 83% said no.
Yeah, and that's not surprising. It's a lot of heavy lifting, and it takes a lot of time, and you really have to be regimented in it. And and typically people in the SMB space, you don't have time to spend on this stuff, and you're too busy, doing too many other things and closing deals. So that's not a surprise. Okay. And from the step 5, basically, once you've been able to get that content out there and rolling, is really get the lead capture rolling, and that's watching your traffic build through Google Analytics. Sleep while the engine works. Watch the leads come in, and this is an actual screenshot of one of our campaigns. We pushed it out there, we got it done, and they continue to roll in. And utilizing social media for that also helps. And then hopefully, if you've done it right, your lead workflow is in place, your funnel management continues to grow, and you're converting sales, and hopefully sales are developing. But there is more, yes. There's a domino effect from implementing the strategy, and this probably caters to some of you that are interested in the inbound marketing side more so than the Sugar side. There's some collateral damage that can occur if you're implementing this strategy on a regular basis, and you'll see that your site traffic, and this is an actual screenshot of Google Analytics and traffic that's increased over time based on a continual content marketing strategy. And for those of you that follow articles in publications on the metrics and statistics around what content does to your visitor traffic, it's all true. You're going to get new prospects, your rankings are going to climb, and your page views and time on the site will increase. And if you're doing it right, again, you're going to become known in your space. If you're providing true educational material and not just selling and all of your content, people are going to pick you up, and they're going to find you, and they're going to want to push your content out to certain places, and you're going to get additional traffic. And it's like this circular process that just continues to feed itself, and it's a great opportunity.
Kevin, can I interrupt you for a second? We've
Sure.
got a couple of questions that have come in, some of which we'll take at the end. But one of them that was pertinent to the web to lead form was, can you attach a lead form to a pre-existing web form on the website?
Can you attach a web to lead form to a pre-existing? I guess, well, it'd have to be, depends. In other words, if the form is already there and you want to, I would, if I'm hearing the question correctly, I think the best thing to do would be to replace that form, depending on what that form's attached to. I mean, we don't know, is that form attached to Constant Contact or MailChimp or something else? But if you're using those types of things, Sugar has that capability, and that's another thing too. We come across people, and I'll answer that question a little bit more directly, but it made me think that a lot of companies use Constant Contact or some of these emailer programs. Actually, Sugar can provide that same functionality in terms of the metrics. The problem with, we find is that companies will use multiple tools and metrics all in different places, and with Sugar, actually, everything can be combined right into that, product. But what I would do in this scenario is probably remove that form, unless it's tied to something, critical, and I would replace it with the Sugar form.
Okay, and I'm going to jump in on that as well,
Sure.
Kevin. It is possible with some web forms, depending on how it was created, that you can do what's called a double post. So for instance, we post to HubSpot as well as our content management system. So we actually have it pointing to two directions. So John asked this question, so John, if you have, depending on if you have a little bit of horsepower, a little bit of geekiness behind you, you might be able to double post that to both places. So that's the one about the lead. We've got some other questions, and then again, we'll take them at the end. But the other question was, do you require them to fill out the form in order to download the ebook?
Well, there's a debate out there as to whether, I get into conversations all the time as to, well, you're asking too much information, and why should we ask them down to put in their information? But, you're not going to get the lead unless they input information. You can have, there's ways to have, specific trackers to different events that give you some insight into who's coming back. But in terms of like, we may do an email marketing campaign with a tracker utilizing Sugar based on the campaign, and we'll send it out to, whatever, 500 people in our Sugar database. In that scenario, we don't need them to fill out the form, because if they click the tracker, then it'll do a drive-by to Sugar, and it'll tell me, John Doe, click through your link. So in that scenario, we can see who's been clicking through, and they don't need to fill out a form. But what we do is we not only we'll send content to people and we'll give them the link to the actual piece of, the PDF or whatever it is on the website, but then we'll also put up the form in front of that piece of content for visitors that just happen to come by to want it, because we want to capture the people we don't know. But the people we know, we can just give them the link, and there's a way, and we'll show that in the next webinar on the campaign side, where you place a tracker inside the email that would allow people, you can capture their information without having them fill out the form. I hope that answers the question.
Great, and Kevin, I'll hold some of these other questions for the end, because there are some very good questions here. So keep going on, and then we'll do some questions at the end.
Great. Good. So there's only a few more slides, and then we can hit those. So, all in all, we see that SugarCRM can make a huge impact to the business for a number of reasons. For starters, if the inbound marketing strategy is working, you're going to capture new prospects. Hopefully, you're going to optimize sales and marketing resources, because if you don't have some of these automated processes in place, or you've got to, put in a lot of data entry, a lot of time is going to be spent doing that. So it takes a lot of time up front. It's always that thing about you got to put the investment of time up front to get the return in the end. So even though it may seem like a lot of work on the front end, it's going to save resources and time on the back end. And this is real critical for, a lot of our clients want to see, information and metrics around campaigns and how things are performing. And this is, when you got this in place, and Sugar's got great reporting capabilities, you can get a lot of data out of there that can give executive management, real answers to real questions. And hopefully that'll generate a clear ROI for a number of the campaigns that you're running. Again, a few more slides here. What to remember, the foundation is critical, and this relates to both using Sugar and inbound marketing. Your data has got to be good, your systems, and what I refer to here is processes, not IT, and your website should have a nice integration with Sugar all across the site. Frequency and relevance is a must. If inbound marketing is your interest, then you have to commit to doing it on a regular basis and connecting with your buyer personas on a regular, it just has to happen. It has to be relevant and frequent. And of course, it's got to be compelling, intelligent, and interesting. If you're using your blog for the sake of posting, stuff about internal into the organization or the best Easter, the Easter recipe, those things aren't going to really fly. They may work for some of your employees, but they're not really going to attract your prospects. And of course, you need to pay close attention to the detail. There's a lot of moving parts on this stuff. It takes some time to really get it down and get it down right. But if you get it down right and it's going well, then it just takes time to get in place. And again, staying committed to the plan and process is really key. So again, I'm gonna plug the next two. Hopefully, everybody's learned something here today. We've got one in a couple weeks and a little one in 4 weeks. I believe that's the right time span. We'd love to see you with the next ones as well.
Great. So I'm actually going to do, let's talk about the questions now, Kevin.
Okay.
So the first question was, what's the best implementation SugarCRM process you recommend me to follow if my sales staff is not used to the latest trends in technology?
So, say the first part of that question again.
What's the best implementation SugarCRM process you can recommend if your sales staff is not used to the latest trends in technology?
Oh, that's a tough question. Well, I'm reading through that. If they're not used to the latest trends in technology, it sounds like it's a usage problem, adoption problem. So I guess, I guess forcing them to use it in such a way, well, there's two things. From just a pure sales and marketing management side of things, expecting, certain, if it's not in there, it doesn't exist type of thing. And that's, we use that a lot with our clients. If sales teams aren't going to put in the data, then it doesn't exist. And then holding them to the fire as it relates to some of the reporting capabilities for funnel management is one. But in terms of, so there's two ways to answer the question. As it relates to this webinar, I would say the lead capture, because if you get leads coming in and you force them to go to the system to use it, hopefully they'll start adopting it and using it the way that it's meant to be used. So if you do have, if you have an inbound marketing strategy that's driving traffic, make sure that lead capture is in place so that your sales team has to go into Sugar to do something with it. That's one piece of it. But the other side of it is really a reporting and executive, decision in terms of, if you guys, your funnel, your quota, in terms of hitting your quota, it's got to be in the funnel. And if it isn't in the funnel, then it doesn't exist. So there's kind of a two-sided answer to that question.
Okay, I agree as well. So I've got, how do you capture the people who downloaded your 10 hidden sales metrics?
How do we capture them? Well, they go to a page, a landing page. So we put a landing page on the website that has them fill out the form. And when they fill out the form, they hit submit. When they hit submit, they get to a next page that thanks them for downloading it and then gives them a link to the particular piece. Is that, I think that's the answer to the question. I'm wondering if that's...
Okay, I'll ask.
Yeah,
I'll ask.
yeah. Whoever asked that question, feel free to reach out to me directly, and I'll make sure I answer that accurately.
This is actually a good question. So if I own multiple companies, will one sugar installation work for all?
Well, you have to. I have to ask. I'd probably lean on my partner for this one, but I think the answer to that is yes, because what you can do, I think the intention here is to create different groups for users, so that one user working for a company ABC is not seeing data from company DEF. And if that's the question, then the answer is yes. You can create security around groups of users and teams so that only certain teams can see certain data.
And Kevin, because you can pass hidden variables, am I correct that they can pass
Yes.
variables back saying that this came from X or Y company?
That's correct. Yes, yeah. You can say, you can put a web form on one site that is attached to a campaign specific to company ABC, and then you can have a web form on another site that's specific to a campaign for XYZ. And you can pass, different variables. You can say this, there's a number of things you can do, but I think from the standpoint of using the same instance for multiple companies based on groups and teams of salespeople, the answer to that is yes.
Great. So the next question is, and I'm not sure if you know this, Kevin, but they say, do you prefer WordPress over Joomla? Do you think WordPress is better and why?
Yes, I know the answer to that one very well. WordPress, there's just no question. Joomla, Joomla is, well, let's put it this way. It depends on how technical you are. We manage probably 15 or 20 WordPress sites, and we manage one Joomla site. The community around WordPress is much larger. The plugins and the functionality to add to the site is much more advanced, and there's so many more of them. Joomla, you got to be a little more technical, and it's not as user-friendly. And it just the overall use of WordPress is so much easier from a marketing standpoint than Joomla is.
Okay. So the next question is, do you have material on your website that can be referenced to implement what you have demonstrated today? And Kevin, I don't know if you want to mention the Sugar website actually has some decent videos, like they have a good video about setting up campaigns.
Yeah, they do. And you got to dig for it a little bit. In terms of what we've done, what we've talked about today, I don't know if that's specific walkthrough. First and foremost, we're an inbound marketing agency. Secondly, we're a Sugar proponent for utilizing those tactics and processes and practices. So, we on our website we talk more about the capabilities of inbound marketing, and Sugar is a byproduct of how it can be executed. So if whoever asks that question, if you want to see specifics in terms of what processes you might be looking at, again, feel free to reach out.
Great. Okay. So, and I think we got all of the questions answered. So, Kevin, I'm going to take control back for one more second. I'm going to launch our last campaign, which is really just, did you guys get value out of this? Was it worth your time? Was it not worth your time? Okay. All right.
Are we going to share that?
We're not going to share that, actually.
It's all good. It's all good.
We got value. We got valuable, very valuable, valuable, and somewhat valuable. So we didn't get any not valuable. So
thanks to everyone.
So real quick, this is if you want to do beginner campaigns. So Kevin's taking it to a whole nother level, but for beginner campaigns, if you want to just the basics of it, on the Sugar website, if you go to their support and training and videos, there was something like creating email campaigns. So there's some real basic stuff for you to get started. Particularly, I know a lot of you guys have just kind of started using it or checking it out. So that's definitely a place to go. And again, Kevin mentioned we've got some upcoming webinars for Part 2 and Part 3. This has been recorded. We will post this for you and send you a link within the next day or two. So if you have any questions, the last thing I would say, questions is, reach out to Kevin or myself if you have any questions. Kevin's at Echo Gravity. Here's his contact information. If you have any questions for technology advisors, we are Sugar partners. That's what we do. We actually implement the Sugar CRM application for you, train you on it, user adoption. That's exactly what we do. and then Kevin takes over and gets everybody to come in and make it worth your while. So if anybody has any questions, please reach out to us. And thank everybody for attending, and Kevin, thank you so much for presenting for us, and we will see all of you in 2 weeks.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Kevin. Bye.